Hey, hey, hey. Hope you're doing good. I think I'll need to start by checking the sound. I'm on a busy street. It's noisy. I'm on my way shopping, and today, let's go shopping. Because why not? So, our topic today is juicy. I've decided I'll play around with the cars and see. When they take a bit of a break, then I can say something. These are the cars passing by here. Anyway, today's topic is really juicy. We're talking about, it's still the Good Girl series, the Good Girl at Work, but now we're taking a different view on toxicity. We always, not always, I don't like using the word always. We often, it's very easy rather, to look at toxicity from the experience that we've had. I gave you the example the other time of the toxic situations that I had been. But what of when I am the toxic person? What of when you are the toxic person? When we are the ones in the wrong? So I'll start by giving you a real life example of a situation when I came to realize I was being toxic or negative. Sometimes I feel something when I use the term toxic and myself in the same sentence. It doesn't sound very friendly. So maybe we lift it up a level and call it being negative. In fact, I was being mean. And I'll explain to you that situation just as soon as I get across the street, around the street. So, once upon a time, not so long ago, that doesn't matter. I was dating this guy. We weren't even dating. We were just like feeling each other out to see whether or not we could consider dating. And the thing I realized with him is that, I'll really put it this way because this is how I felt it, that he brought out such a negative streak in me, such negativity from me. He was, again, cars. I don't know, I hope you can hear me. He was a bit of in Swahili we'd call it woye woye. Meaning that he was a victim, that's it. He had a victim mentality. Nothing ever went his way. People were always against him, that kind of perspective. And I realized that when I was with him, I was very mean. I was never at my best. And how did this show up? It showed up by being like very rude and very, even cussing. I don't curse all that much, but with him it was no hands barred. As in I quite frankly felt that I was a different version of myself that I didn't particularly enjoy being. So when I took some time to look at it and I realized that, then I'm distracted by a baby looking at themselves in the mirror because I'm just from doing an introduction to psychology, just a short thing. And part of what we're looking at then was at what point we become aware of self. And the example that they had there was that a mirror test with babies looking at themselves in mirrors, and it turns out that it's at around the age of 1.5 to 2 that they come to recognize that the person in the mirror is themselves. So serendipity, unexpected life. So anyway, with this guy, when I did come to realize that that was the effect that I felt, when I just came to notice the reality of what was going on, I did not like it at all. I did not like the person I was when I was with him. And then, we broke it off, so we didn't even really try any further in the relationship. But that to me was part of the trick, the understanding, this looking at myself from this brand new perspective. Give me a second, I need to figure out how to get a trolley. I'm back. Can it find me? There we are. So I was telling a friend of mine this story, and she told me, good for you to realize that you can at times be the toxic one. And I was like, wait, what? That was not at all what my takeaway had been, but that was a very interesting thing to hear, because then if I took it from his perspective, the experience. that he'd had of the relationship, then that would be that. He felt that he must have. It is arguable to say that if he felt that I were toxic, that would be understandable. And I thought, surprise, surprise. So it's really hard. Now I have a trolley. Can I show you this? I didn't expect this part of it. So I have my shopping baggie that I've put inside a trolley, and I'm trying to maneuver it all. And frankly, I came in for just one thing, and as often happens now, I'm just browsing through the aisles to see if there's anything that I've forgotten, and I've already seen a number of things that I need to pick. Let me move out of this section, and then we'll take the story up again. Welcome back. So that was the example. It was after living through that perspective and getting that example myself that I came to realize that these things are not necessarily only done by other people, that there might be a situation where I am the one who is being toxic. Then now, having said that very long groundwork, so then the question becomes, how do you recognize it at work? Because all these toxic people are people. Fine, we don't recognize it in ourselves, perhaps because we never are, hopefully. But what if we are? These people who behave in this way are people like you and me. So how do we get to understand whether or not we have certain situations? Again, if we move away from the very triggering word toxic, and then instead talk of negativity, if we've been mean, if we've had situations where we've been less than friendly at work. And I mean, I do have that experience myself. I do recall certain situations where I have really not turned out my best. And this little discussion we're having is based on what I found from those circumstances. So, first of all, that was a bit of a ramp. Sorry. That was a bit of a ramp we were going through. So, first of all, the thing is resistance. Resistance is when things are going in a particular direction that you are not happy with, and so you resist. You hope that the reality would be different from what it is, and because of that, you're like sulking, like a child. You're saying, no, this is not what I want. This is not the preferred scope. This is not how I would want things to be. So that I have under the what? The resistance. And I have a couple of points under that. This is harder than I thought it would be with the trolley and this shopping bag. So there's much more maneuvering than I was expecting to have to do. I come to the first thing I actually came for. After having bought 1,000 other things elsewhere, actually I've been good. I haven't put so many things in my trolley. But this is, let me show you. That is bird feed. You wonder why I get bird feed? Because I have cats. So I use that as entertainment for them. To watch the birds come near the house and interact. Okay, but that is away from my story. So I was saying expectations. In one of our previous episodes, we did have a conversation about how we can implement our own expectations on other people. And again, this is firsthand. In my example, actually, of being mean at work, that was actually it. I felt there was someone working well below their capacity, that they had so much more to offer, and they were not expanding themselves to provide it. And I felt that was wrong. And because I felt that it was wrong, I took it upon myself to let them know that they must let their star shine. And that is really the good girl perspective. What I was doing, I thought was good, because I was thinking that this person has so much more in them to give, but they're not giving it. So I was trying to push them to realize this for themselves and to come out more. But then that was resistance, because I was resisting their, not reflection, their exposure of themselves as they felt themselves to be. So they were happy living their lives, and really they're not my relative, not my anything. We have nothing to do with each other. Why am I imposing my view of how things should be done on them? I really felt, when I thought about it, this was many years ago. when I thought about it years later, I just felt that I hadn't shown up, I hadn't made the workplace an easier place for them. Because we said expectations come from how you grew up and what you do. So because in my upbringing I've been pushed to always achieve at 100%, doesn't mean that that is everyone else's reality. And because of that, I shouldn't then, I have nothing to do with how they're showing up. We weren't, how to put it, they weren't my direct reports or anything like that. So from that perspective, we live. Yeah, it sounds a little, it might sound, especially for the good girl listening, this might be a hard one to take, because you're wondering how, which is what I wondered, how can wanting the best for someone else be toxic, be negative, be mean? But that's it. You are placing your perspective of best onto them. That's not necessarily their reality. Maybe where they grew up, 50% was absolutely wonderful. And whether or not you think that is the right way to be brought up has nothing to do with anything. You're not the president of the world. To put it in the words of, I always forget, what's her name? The author of Harry Potter. To put it in her words, you are no one else's God. Yeah, you do not get to tell them what they should and shouldn't do. So that for me was a slow learn. It took me a very long time to learn that one. And that is resistance. That is something that is coming up, making me mean in the workplace. I think I'll go through this one standing where I am before I go pick up. I'm in the cat food section, which is what I want. And I think it will take me a bit of time to figure out exactly which one it is that I want. So let me go through. There are just a couple of ones here on resistance. The other one is resistant to tasks. You might get a new task that you do not want to do. And there are many things to do. There are many ways around this. And do I have it here? I don't have it here. I once had... oh, it is here. Organizational changes. I can't read my handwriting. Organizational changes. I had a situation where the person, my boss, I think they resigned, and then I got a new boss. And me and the new boss did not see eye to eye at all. At all. There was no... So instead of resisting as such, what I did is I changed roles. I changed roles because I realized that this was not going to work. The world was not big enough for the two of us. And from that perspective, then I moved. So that's the thing with resistance, which maybe I haven't said. When something happens that you are not happy with, you're not content with, and I'm not advertising. Meow. I'm not advertising these people. It's just cat food section. If something happens that you are not, that is not as per what you would prefer, you have the option of doing something about it. In that case, I changed roles. I quit from that situation and changed to another role within the same organization. Or, in my case, it was within the same organization, but of course you can go further and beyond. It's within your right to find things that accommodate what you'd prefer. And the other side of it is to take it. Because the problem with resistance is that you're there unhappy. Resistance for things that you cannot change then is just a cesspool of unhappiness. Because then you just sit there thinking, no, this is terrible, this I don't want to do. And that's the point with all these things. The other one, I had tasks, a task that you do not want. Can you get away from it? If not, it's changing the mental frame within yourself and then doing it, because other than that, you're just unhappy every day when you wake up to go to work. And the last one is ways of working. Well, maybe just that. Maybe the way you're working with your peers or the other people in the team. If you don't like it, do something about it to change it or accept it. Now, I quit. Well, not quit. I am putting this off so that I can do my actual shopping. I'll see you in a bit. I've done more shopping than I anticipated, but that's how life goes. Anyway, so we've looked at the resistance and how it goes about. Now we are talking about the manifestation. How does it come up in work? What is it that can be seen as mean or negative or, that kind of resistance, trying to move away from the word toxic in the workplace? And the first point I have here on my list was being uncooperative. So because things are happening that are not the way that you would want them to be, You find yourself being uncooperative. You do not want to participate fully. You're sulking. It's like a child. You're there saying, no, this is not what I wanted. This is not it. And then because of that, you're just being unhelpful. Let me see what other points I have here. Spreading discord. Being the person who is just, looking out at the coffee machine area or at the water point to be talking to everyone else and talking about how terrible everything is, how great things used to be before. And remember, a lot of this is done from I don't know if this is necessarily good girl. I think this is more universal. It's just, again, the resistance to change. Things were so much better before XYZ happened. And it makes me think of the book, Who Moved My Cheese? And that is the whole point of that book. Things are going to change. How you adapt to the change is completely up to you. And your experience around the change is also completely up to you. But I have certainly been there. When things are going in a way that I don't want, and I'm like, no, this is not right. We need to sit around and complain. Again, like a child throwing a tantrum, puffing up and down my shoulders and saying, this is not what I want. This is not the expectation I had. And I had one more, complaining, that's it. So complaining, it all falls within the same gist of sowing discord. Being the one who's sitting there and complaining and saying, back in the year dot, when things used to work differently, before the change happened, everything was perfect. And yet, throughout the lives we've lived, the only thing we know is a constant is the change. Things are going to be different. So here we are talking about how not to be the negative piece, the bad apple that makes the others go bad in the workplace, in the organization. And to tie into the good girl perspective, none of this is done with malice. This is just reacting to the emotions. It is reacting as opposed to processing. So something has happened and the reaction is, no, I do not want this. This is not for my good. This is not what I anticipate. In and of itself, maybe more or less natural, nothing wrong about it. But then how does this doesn't help us win in life. Because as we said, you resist, then you're the one who's unhappy. If there's been an organizational change, if my boss had changed, my boss had changed. I could sulk, but that change had already occurred. Oh, this is dark. I wonder if it needs some time to readjust to me. I'm going to do a quick search for something here, so let me switch this off and then we'll get back to it. Okay. So I didn't find what I wanted there, but that's all right. So to tie it all off, thank you for accompanying me on my shopping. But to tie it all off, the question is, why might this happen? Why might you turn out a little meaner than you would otherwise want to be? Why would you be the one exuding some negativity? And the thing is that the changes or whatever it is that's happening, whatever you're unhappy with, whatever you're trying to resist, is probably tied to your ego, your sense of worth. The workplace being the way it has been throughout is what you're used to. So you're feeling that if there needs to be any kind of change, you're not sure that work will continue being the way work has been. And this is then tying to, if you have tied your sense of worth to your work and to what you do, then this is like dying. This is telling you that you are not going to be the same. You might not continue. You're not so sure of how you will manage in new circumstances. You're not so sure if you'll be able to thrive in the way you've been thriving. And because your ego fears death, your ego isn't really bad. It isn't bad at all. None of your parts are bad. So your ego is actually trying to protect you. It's saying, look, if things change, we are not sure that we are going to survive. If, we don't know that we'll be able to continue thriving. And that can be very alarming. That can really cause alarms to set off. And to that extent, that is why then you might find yourself really doing things that you do not expect yourself to do, things which are not your norm in terms of activity. And that is a situation that can lead you to bring some kind of toxicity into the workplace. So I wanted to tie that all out together. I am in my final shop. Hopefully easier to get what it is I'm looking for here. Thank you for joining me in this tour of my local neighborhood shopping complex more than a mall. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you picked up something here that was valuable, something that you'll find useful, something that you can use, and at the very least something that you can think about, because as I said, these are not things, in my case anyway, this is hardly anything I think about much. I don't spend time thinking about whether or not I am being toxic. So again, if we move away from the word toxic, fine, then it can be negative, mean, unfriendly in the workplace. As always, I appreciate your time. Thank you, gorgeous. Have a great day. Music by Atemi Oyungu. Content and production by me, Shiro. Get in touch at lostinour40s.com.